Hello, hello, my beloved waking gods and goddesses. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Love, Truth, and Beauty. Do it yourself for divine in the flesh, where our PTSDs, our pains, traumas, suffering, and dramas are golden gateways to waking up and staying awake. Where together we learn how to surf and navigate the ups and downs of the totality of human experience in this perception-managed reality, having discovered that our true divine creative natures and our true sensual sensorial world of seven senses have all been dumbed down into the limitations of 5 sense reality. Before we get started, please do give this video a thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, selecting the all settings so that when I upload, the YouTube will let you know. I generally upload Tuesdays and Fridays, 2 p.m. Eastern. My name is Mario West, and I am your hostess of the highest, here to download, upload, inspire, and usher you into your bestest and brightest light, inviting you to hop onto your bestest and brightest selves and express that, and inviting you all to open your hearts wider and wider and wider still. Welcome to episode 58. This is a bit of an impromptu, kind of unscheduled. I know that I am not speaking about right now the way to activate your intentions, but this is super, super important. I've gotten a lot of requests for this, and I was doing the research, and I realized that I had a fantastic resource through a wonderful person, a wonderful conscious awakened man on the techie side of things as well, R. Blank of ShieldYourBody.com, who's got a bunch of fantastic content and fantastic products for shielding of the 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G technologies. And in particular, I am going to be talking about his information regarding protecting our children from EMF radiation. So, I figured that instead of reinventing the wheel and going through all my stuff around what I've researched, that I would just go ahead and read his PDF. And so what I did is I emailed him and I told him what I wanted to do and asked his permission if I could do that. And he said yes. He was very, very gracious. So below in the description box is all of his information, as well as a link to this particular PDF. So without much further ado, let's talk about it. All right, let me read this. Okay, so EMF radiation, health risks and safety for children. A message from the CEO, R. Blank. Thank you so much for your interest in Shield Your Body and for your interest in learning more about EMF, 5G, and radiation health. Your support directly helps further our mission to help you live a healthier lifestyle by reducing your exposure to harmful EMF radiation. I'm here for you every step of the way and to answer any questions you may have. I encourage you to email me directly at any time with your thoughts, feedback, and questions. All right, so table of contents here. So there are these headings. The first one is, why do children have a greater risk? And then there's scope of the problem, health effects. He'll also talk about cell phone safety standards and how to protect children from EMF. Why do children have a greater risk? In some ways, children are small adults, and in other ways, they are materially different. They are different biologically, chemically, and psychologically. Some of the critical differences that make a child more vulnerable than an adult include: children's brains are smaller and their skulls are thinner. Children's brains are wetter. Children are growing fast. Children are younger. Let's look at how each of these impacts how EMF interacts with children's bodies. Children's brains are smaller and their skulls are thinner. Obviously, children are smaller than adults, and so their heads are smaller. Why does this matter? Well, let's say, for example, that a specific dose of cell phone radiation penetrates 3 inches into your head. In a child with a smaller head, that penetrates more deeply into the brain and exposes a larger portion of the brain. Children's brains are wetter. Children's brains aren't just smaller, they also have a higher level of water content compared to an adult. And this means that their brains conduct and spread EMF radiation more effectively and widely than an adult. This amplifies the damage of exposure to electromagnetic fields. Now, in the PDF, he has some underlined portions. When you click that, it will take you to a backing document. So I encourage you to hit the link, okay? Children are growing fast. Children are obviously growing. What this means at the cellular levels is that their cells are dividing and multiplying more rapidly. Exposure to EMF radiation, like a cell phone or cordless phone, has been shown to damage DNA, resulting in single-strand breaks and double-strand breaks. Because children are growing and their cells are dividing so rapidly, this means any damage to their cells will be replicated and spread further throughout their bodies. Add to this the fact that children are younger. This means they have longer to live. And this in turn means that they will live with any damage from a source like EMF for much longer. This gives more time for the damage to multiply and spread and impact their bodies, and so the damage will accumulate and grow over time. Taken together, all of these factors taken together add up to EMF exposure presenting at a much higher risk for children. In short, in the words of a team of researchers led by Leif Kifetz, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, concerns about potential vulnerability of children to radio frequency RF fields have been raised because of the potentially greater susceptibility of their developing nervous systems. In addition, their brain tissue is more conducive. RF penetration is greater relative to head size, and they will have a longer lifetime of exposure than adults. Scope of the problem. The next natural question is to ask how much of a concern should this be? In other words, how widespread is cell phone ownership and usage among children? In 2016, it was reported that the average age for kids to get their first smartphone was just 10.3 years. In 2017, report from Nielsen found that around 45% of U.S. children between the ages of 10 to 12 have their own smartphone with a service plan rather than just Wi-Fi, meaning they're constantly connected to cell phone networks. According to a 2019 survey by Common Sense Media, 53% of children in the United States own a cell phone before the age of 11. And a similar survey released in 2020 found that 53% of United Kingdom youth have a smartphone by the age of 7. That's the second grade. And by the time they are 11, a full 90% have smartphones. And this UK study had some other interesting and disturbing findings, such as 39% said they could not live without their phone. 57% said they always slept with their phone by their bed. 44% expressed discomfort at being in a location without cell service. 42% explained they are constantly worried about their battery dying. While the findings from each of these studies are a bit different, they agree that a lot of really young children have smartphones. And it is quite clear from the results that a lot of these surveyed children are expressing symptoms of cell phone addiction and are already demonstrating unhealthy habits with their technology. And that leads to increased exposures of EMF radiation. And keep in mind, that's just cell phones. And while cell phones are a significant source of EMF radiation, they are not nearly the only source, not even close. In today's world, children, like all of us, are exposed to the same type of EMF radiation from multiple cell phones, cell phone towers and antennas, Wi-Fi routers, connected devices, smart and electric cars. The sources and exposures keep growing exponentially with the growth in connected technology. Health effects of EMF exposure on children. So we see that children are more vulnerable to damage from smartphones and that a lot of children are using these devices. Given those facts, what are the differences we might expect to see in negative health effects for children when compared to adults? On the following pages, I will discuss studies involving brain tumors, childhood leukemia, cognitive function, brain loss, or memory loss, pardon me, that was a brain fart, ADHD, academic performance, increased risk of brain tumors. In a 2007 study published by a group led by Dr. Leonard Hardell that examined the incidence of malignant brain tumors among thousands of cell phone and cordless phone users, Hardell and the researchers found that not only does cell phone use increase the risk of forming malignant brain tumors, but that the risk increased with latency time, i.e., how much time had passed since the cell phone exposure and cumulative use. And this is from supposedly safe, in quotes, safe doses within safety limits of EMF. And if you look at the data presented in this study, you'll see that those who began using cordless or cell phones before the age of 20 had a 400% increased risk of forming a brain tumor on the side of the head where they hold their phone. In other words, those who started using cell phones while they were children has a massive increased risk of forming brain tumors. Childhood leukemia. Of course, brain tumors are not the only types of cancers that are linked to EMF radiation exposure. And as I've mentioned, cell phones aren't the only source of EMF radiation. Among the many others are power lines and electrical wiring in your home. This is because AC power emits a type of EMF called ELF, or extremely low frequency. The power lines and electrical circuitry that form our power grid also act as a massive antenna that can pick up and conduct stray EMF from other devices like cell phones and Wi-Fi. Dr. Sam Milham coined a term to describe this: dirty electricity. Milham and his colleague Dr. Eric Osiander published a study showing that the appearance of childhood leukemia between the ages of 3 and 4 only appeared with the introduction of electrification. In other words, the trend of appearance of childhood leukemia developing at a certain age is a modern one, which followed introduction of the power grid and a whole new set of EMF exposures in children. Cognitive decline. Obviously, cancer is a very concerning health risk, but it is not the only class of negative health effects that have been linked to cell phone radiation exposure in children. Other research out of the University of Helsinki in Finland gives reason to suspect that children are susceptible to more subtle effects on brain function. These researchers demonstrated cognitive dysfunction in children resulting from exposure to cell phone radiation. 15 children were asked to perform auditory memory functions with and without exposure to cell phone radiation. Their findings suggest that EMF emitted by mobile phones has effects on brain oscillatory responses during cognitive processing in children. In other words, exposure to cell phone radiation was shown to affect brain function in these children. Memory loss. A peer-reviewed study released in July 2018 suggests a link between exposure to radio frequency electromagnetic fields and memory performance in teens. The researchers analyzed data from nearly 700 Swiss teenagers and tracked the EMF exposure and memory performance of these teens over the course of an entire year. The study found that cumulative RF EMF brain exposure from mobile phones used over 1 year may have a negative effect on the development of figural memory performance in adolescence. This may suggest that indeed RF EMF absorbed by the brain is responsible for the observed associations, the researchers explained in a press release. ADHD. In the past few years, an increasing number of studies have identified a strong correlation between ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and exposure to EMF radiation. In 2017, a pair of researchers surveyed the published science on this question and concluded symptoms of retarded memory, learning, cognition, attention, and behavioral problems have been reported in numerous studies and are similarly manifested in autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorders as a result of exposure to cell phone radiation. Academic performance. With so much evidence accumulating demonstrating the links between cell phone radiation and cognitive function, memory loss, and behavioral disorders, you would expect to see impact in overall academic performance in children. And in fact, that is what we found. And it's not just because of the physiological and biological effects of cell phones. It's also because they are quite simply a massive distraction. A 2017 study from Rutgers University, New Brunswick, published in the journal Educational Psychology, found that students who use their cell phones and other devices for non-academic purposes during lectures perform worse in end-of-term exams. Cell phone study standards. Now, to be clear, I and many others believe that the regulations that govern cell phone radiation emissions are vastly inadequate to protect any of us from the increasing number of negative health effects that have been documented. But for the sake of argument, let's assume that cell phone emissions regulations are actually sufficient to protect us. Even if that were true, these regulations are clearly inadequate to protect children. See, in the United States and much of the rest of the world, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, uses a measurement called SAR, or Specific Absorption Rate, to regulate cell phone radiation. In other words, cell phone radiation is regulated based on how much radiation you absorb when you use your phone. But actually, that's not quite true. The SAR safety standards are not, in fact, regulated based on how much you absorb. They are regulated based on how much radiation is absorbed by a dummy that approximates a 240-pound man. But the vast majority of children do not weigh 240 pounds, not even close. The average weight of an 11-year-old is just 81.5 pounds, or about 75% lighter than a SAR dummy. And as I discussed earlier, children absorb more of this radiation. In other words, not only are children more vulnerable to health risks and damage from cell phone radiation, but also cell phone radiation safety regulations are fundamentally and completely inadequate to protect children from this damage. How to protect children from EMF. While children may be more vulnerable to damage from EMF health effects, it is just as easy to protect them. At Shield Your Body, we make some of the best EMF protection products available in the world. And I can vouch for that, okay? And so sometimes it surprises people when I tell them that the best EMF protection is free, completely free, and you can start right now. But as with any pollutant, the best EMF protection is to reduce your exposure to the pollutant in the first place. And when it comes to EMF, there are two simple rules to accomplish this goal, that goal. Number one, minimize your use of EMF emitting technologies. And number two, maximize the distance between your body and the EMF emitting technologies when they are in use. How to minimize use? Minimizing your use of EMF technology is the absolute best way to protect yourself from EMF, because then you're not exposed in the first place. Let's use the example of a cell phone. There are a ton of ways to minimize your use of your cell phone. Two big ones are, number one, do not sleep with your phone. Many studies show that sleeping with your phone can significantly disrupt your sleep. In addition to that, if you sleep with your phone, you're being exposed to cell phone radiation all night long when you are not even using the phone. So don't bring it to bed, or turn it into airplane mode if you do. That's what I do. Since we all sleep for about 6 to 8 hours per day, that'll cut your exposure to your phone's 5G radiation by 25 to 30%. Number two, put your phone into airplane mode. Airplane mode on your phone was originally created for you when you are flying on a plane, but obviously you don't need to fly to use it. Duh. And when your phone is in airplane mode, you've virtually eliminated its EMF radiation. That's right. So when you don't need to make or receive calls and texts, turn on airplane mode. This is what I do constantly. How to maximize distance. Minimizing your use is the best way to cut your exposure and protect your health, no matter how much we cut out the EMF tech. We all still need to use modern technology. It's just how today's world works. And that's where maximizing distance comes in. You want to maximize the distance between the EMF emitting technology and your body. Why does maximizing distance matter so much? Because the power of EMF radiation diminishes exponentially with distance. That means each time you double the distance between your body and your technology, you slash the power of the EMF by 75%. How cool is that? For examples of how to maximize distance, let's go back to our phones. Here are two ways to maximize the distance without giving up the benefit of your phone. Number one, don't carry your phone in your pocket. When your phone is directly against your body, it is likely one of your biggest, if not the biggest source of your EMF exposure. Even many cell phone companies like Apple tell you not to carry your phone in your pocket, because if you do, your exposure can exceed safety standards. So don't carry your phone in your pocket or turn it into airplane mode if you do. Number two, use speakerphone or a radiation-free headset. Just like you shouldn't carry your phone in your pocket, you also shouldn't hold your phone up to your head. In fact, this is more important because when you're making a call, your phone is emitting much more EMF radiation. So you should use a speakerphone or an anti-radiation headset. More healthy living tips. Those were just a couple of examples of ways you can reduce your exposure to EMF for free, starting right now without buying any gadgets. And on this page, this is actually page 25 of the PDF, he's got a link to more information, and so you can click onto that. how to protect children from EMF at home. And I also have a post specifically about creating a safe learning environment for your children at home. It includes a bunch of my healthy living tips that are most relevant for homeschooling. So I'm actually going to click on that and see. Maybe I can just read that. Wow. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna let you guys do that. This video is kind of long, but I will have the link. I'll include the link below in the description box. How about that? All right, so let's see. EMF protection products. Science tells us that the best EMF protection is free, but does that mean that you shouldn't use EMF protection products? No. As someone who makes and sells EMF protection products designed to help you reduce your exposure to harmful EMF radiation, I obviously don't believe that we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are countless benefits to wireless technology, so I advocate ways in which to use it more safely. If you follow the healthy living tips, you'll make a huge difference in your child's EMF exposure. But while the best EMF protection is free, good EMF protection products like the ones I make and sell can further reduce your exposure to EMF radiation. Because no matter how many of my Shield Your Body healthy living tips you adopt, if you want to participate in the modern world, your child is going to be exposed to EMF radiation, and that's where good EMF protection products come in. And so he's got a list of all of the products. I have quite a number of them. I will link his stuff below in the description box. Let's see. And so, anyways, that's pretty much it for the PDF. So I will have all the links to R Blank's work and shieldyourbody.com. I hope this has been helpful. And he's got a lot of content. And like I said, I've been on several of his webinars, content rich. And when you go through the PDFs, things that are underlined, you click them and it will take you to the backing documentation, which I love. And you can even back up that documentation by doing your own due diligence and going further down the rabbit hole. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for your participation and your attention. I really do appreciate it. So please do give this video a thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, selecting the all setting so that when I upload, the YouTube will let you know. And if you have friends, family members, communities that would really benefit from this information, please, please, please share this video and share the link of R Blank's work and shieldyourbody.com. And I am not an affiliate, so I am not gaining financially by sharing this. I just really like this man's work, and I really appreciate his dedication. And so, anyways, that's it for now. So be the love that you are. Share your love and share the love with your children, folks. Okay, the technology is on. There's nothing we can do to fight up against it. So let's protect ourselves, work with it, find out more stuff, do our due diligence. Okay, until next time, my love doves, here's to love, truth, and beauty. Mwah!